Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shred Show Live. You know him, you love him, you're excited to see him. One of my good friends, CEO of United Wholesale Mortgages, hanging out with me. He's an author, he's a CEO, he's an entrepreneur, he's a forward thinker, he's an innovator. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nobody better I love to hang out with than Mat Ishbia, and he is joining us on the show today. You are not going to want to miss this. Volume up. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It is time to shred. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to welcome my good friend, Mat Ishbia. Matt, how are you, my friend? It's been far too long. How are things? You well?
Doing excellent. So glad to be here with you, man. Everything good with you?
Oh my gosh. So excited to have you. Things are so good here. The world of COVID is starting to lift slower, and I'm excited to be getting back. You and I were talking about events here in the fall, getting back to normal, hanging out. AIM is just around the corner, which I know you and I are both excited for. And we're going to be talking about the brokers. You know, Matt, you've always advocated for the broker channel, and UWM is the #1 wholesale lender in the entire country. So there's, of course, some room to be excited for you guys. But let's talk about this. You guys actually ran this, and I want to share this graphic real quick. I mean, you guys are basically giving an opportunity for brokers to come join you at the New York Stock Exchange and have a chance to ring the bell. How did that even come to be? You're just like, hey, you know what? We want to celebrate our success, or how did this come to be?
Yeah, no, it's just, part of going public, the goal is how do we educate consumers? How do we help the broker channel grow? And so the National Mortgage Broker Day is July 18th. And we said, how do we bring notoriety? And so ringing the New York Stock Exchange bell was a once in a lifetime event for me. I could never have imagined it. So for me to be able to take out, 10, 12 brokers out there on the stage and ring the bell with me was pretty cool. And so we're excited to do it. But part of that was to submit contests. And I know the contest is over now, about consumer stories, because mortgage brokers make such a difference in people's lives. And I want to share these stories. I want to share it with the national press so people realize that brokers are better. Go find a mortgage broker, go work with someone local, and they'll help you get a great mortgage. That's
Matt, I think through all of this, from when you started at, UWM, 17 plus years ago, you've always had that focus in mind, is helping the consumer, making sure they're educated, but giving them options. And you, again, going back to what I said, advocating for the broker. You and I have spent a lot of time in the broker space, and we truly feel and we see that the broker channel really can help consumers that are, especially right now in a competitive market where rate is a big talk. There's not a ton of listings. There's not a ton of homes for sale. So having that extra edge as a broker really does make that extra difference, right?
Yeah, it's been a huge difference. Besides that, we can obviously deliver, being in wholesale loan, brokers have lower rates. So rates are cheaper, costs are lower. But beyond that, is executing. Mortgage brokers are local experts in your community. They'll close the loan in 10, 15, 20, 25 days and be consistent. And that's a big deal right now, especially in a hot market, in a competitive market. So, I believe 1,000% that the mortgage brokers are the best way for a consumer to get a loan. And so we're going to continue to advocate for them.
So let's talk about that. I mean, now more than ever, it is a hot market. There's very few. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest discussions that's happening in the entire industry, is the lack of inventory out there is difficult. So you really have to be able to step up your game as a broker, all of us in the broker channel are trying to find ways to separate ourselves, to differentiate, to really step ourselves up, to step up our game. And I know UWM always is doing that. They're helping brokers step up their game, from whether it's technology, whether it's just being involved in helping. How do you see brokers continuing to really differentiate themselves going forward?
Well, I think the game is simple. It's all about client experience. The whole game is client experience. What is the client going to think about you during the process, after the process, a year from when the process is over? And so we're so focused on the client experience. And for us, it's two-part. One, it's for our brokers. And then two, it's for their consumers. So we got to handle both client experiences. And so that's the main thing. And that's what we're focused on, is how do we make the process faster, easier, cheaper? How do I make it simple? How do I make it so they don't have to go get extra docs again? Can I go get that doc for them? Can we automate that? What can we do? And so we're always trying to think of ways to make it so you have more control than the mortgage brokers, and the consumer and client experience for the mortgage broker and the actual borrower has to be flawless. And so that's the game. If you want to grow your business in 2021 and beyond, dominating the client experience. 2020 rates are so low, anyone can do mortgages in the future, and currently in the present. You got to dominate the client experience.
And I think that's just it, is that client experience now more than ever is absolutely critical, because we actually talked about this on the show last week, people are starting their home buying journey, if you will, 170 days before they even like start the actual buying process. So now you really have to understand what the consumer wants. Where are they looking? Where can you interact with them? Where can you engage with them? And I know this is something that you guys are always preaching at UWM. You're always trying to stay in front of the consumer, but you do that by educating the broker, by educating the originator. I know one of the things you and I were talking about and that I've attended multiple times is Success Track. And it's truly designed to help the originator, whether you're new to the industry, whether you're a seasoned veteran, it's really to help educate the originator on what the consumer needs now more than ever. Success Track, that's one of those things that is a labor of love for you at UWM, but you guys do a great job with it, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal. And so I love what you're saying. Like anything, like I don't care if you're a professional basketball player or a professional loan officer or a professional anything, okay? You have to constantly be working on your craft. And Success Track is a way for you to come to UWM. I think if I were to tell you the secret sauce to any loan, like you come and get better. It's not about UWM. It's about you getting better. And not only are you going to get better, you're going to meet other loan officers in the community. One from Utah, one from New Jersey, one from New York, one from Florida. And you're going to trade ideas, trade notes. You're going to come back and be a better loan officer than you were when you got here, or a better processor, or a better broker owner. I'm so passionate about it because I know it works. And at the same time, I love it. I love seeing an impact we can make, help a loan officer grow, help someone build their business. And some of the business comes to UWM, some doesn't. It's okay. It's all about helping brokers grow. And if brokers grow, consumers win. If consumers win and brokers grow, UWM is going to win too.
Do you think brokers, because I love talking about this, man. I know you're passionate about it. You and I both. One of the reasons I love having you on the show is because you and I like step each other's enthusiasm up, our level of commitment. And like, we want to see our industry thrive. We want to see them be successful. We've invested our entire careers in this industry and talking about this stuff. I think now more than ever, what you and I are discussing here, some people, this is going to go over their heads, but understanding what the consumer's needs are now more than ever and how to become educated on it. I think that's something that our industry has missed. I know UWM has done a great job with Success Track and some of the things that you're doing, but really when it comes down to fundamentally, what should originators be doing right now to become more educated? It's not all about rates anymore. You said that. It's so much more than that. What do originators need to be doing to really get down and like understand the needs of consumers?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting if you have to truly understand your customer in order to deliver what they want. And so for me at UWM, I have to understand what a broker really wants. And you have to understand what a consumer really wants if you're a broker. And so figuring out what it is, what's interesting about our industry is nobody wants the product we're selling. Nobody says, I want a mortgage, right? They want the house. They want $100 savings. No one's like, let's go get a mortgage today, honey. So if they don't want it, how do you make it so that it's done fast, easy, and out of their way? They just want it simple. And so that's what we try to focus on. And that's what I try to educate consumer brokers on is it's about the client experience. Make the process, because you know what? It's one thing about the loan, but the same thing is the future loans that's going to come from it, not only from that consumer, but from their referrals is everything. And so if you want to build a long-term business, dominate the client experience. If you dominate the client experience, you will win. If they think of you, wow, mortgages are so easy when I worked with Josh, I'm going to tell my brother, my sister, my cousin, you're going to win. They're not going to say Josh got me the lowest rate I've ever seen, but it was a horrible process and it didn't go smoothly, but you should call Josh. No, they're going to think about the person with the client experience. And so, but brokers have both. You have great rates and great service. And so that's the game.
I was going to say, that is the game. You mentioned that. And coming from, your career in sports, you understand that honing in on your craft, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, whatever it is, sports or business, you continually have to be improving yourself. You have to continually be getting better. And this discussion that we're having today, why we're having it is for all the brokers out there. You do need to understand that the consumer's needs and understanding those are absolutely critical to the process. Like you mentioned, us brokers, we kind of have the best of all worlds. We've got rates, we've got the understanding the needs of the consumer, but the education part, I think more than ever, Matt, is something that I think, especially 2020, you and I both know this. It was a banner year for so many people in the mortgage industry. Loans were just falling onto our laps. And now I'm sure you're seeing some of this as I am, is brokers are like, hey, they're starting to see that downtick in business. There's a lot of things that are starting to come into play. Like we've mentioned a couple of times, inventory when it comes to the purchase market is dipping down. Now more than ever is the time they need to hone in on the craft. They need to start practicing. They need to put the extra time in on the court. They really need to make sure that when they get those at bats, they can absolutely knock them out of the park, right?
Absolutely. That's the game in any business, right? But you got to work on your craft. And last year was maybe a little easier at least this last 6 months of last year than it's ever been before. And so now you got to say, hey, the second half of this year might be a little tougher than it was. So what are we doing to make sure we're great every day? And we're doing the same thing at UWM. I'm working on my underwriters, my tech, my pricing, my products, my systems. Like I'm in the weeds every day, getting better too. We got to get better, so you get better, and we all win together.
Absolutely. And I love this mentality is we all win together. And I mean, with National Mortgage Broker Day just around the corner, July 18th, coming up after the holiday, it is a time for us to come together. And you and I mentioned with some of the events, AIM is coming up here in a few weeks, or I guess in September. So there's a few big events that we're looking forward to coming together and uniting. What are you expecting at these events? Do you think we're going to have a big turnout? Do you think people are going to be excited to come back together? Are brokers going to come back together?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be bigger than ever. Not just the AIM event, but a lot of these events, because the reality is this. We've been apart for a long time. And it's a lot of times in the past, it's like, oh, well, I'm busy. I got my kids thing that weekend. And everyone has a reason not to do it. And now you realize that sometimes things get taken away from you. And you realize that this is a once a year, the AIM event's a once a year opportunity where you go see thousands of brokers, thousands of people there, and you're going to get better. You're going to work on your craft. If there's a way that you can tell me, Matt, you fly here, I don't care where it is, and you're going to go there for one day and you're going to be better CEO than you are tomorrow, than you are today, I'll go anywhere. Like one day, anywhere in the country, 2 days, I'll go anywhere to get better, especially if it's once or twice a year. And so I love that there's these events, people investing in themselves. I'm going to be at that event. I'm going to be at a couple other ones. Like I'm here to support brokers. I'm going to get better as a CEO. I talk to my clients, I get better. I'm with my people, I get better. We're all going to keep getting better. If you ever say, oh, well, I don't really care, I don't really get, like, then someone's going to take your business, and this is not the long-term career for you. You got to make sure you're getting better every day.
Absolutely. Jordan Sweet comment, UWM best service attitude on the phone from every department. And that's why I choose them. And it's across the board. And Matt, I can say this because as somebody who has originated, who has closed loans for so many years, you working with UWM, you guys do just take a step up. And I've been at your guys' campus. I've seen your sales trainings. I see the enthusiasm that you bring to it, but there's a team mentality. I've shared this before, but what the culture that you breed at UWM is all about team. It's not a one-man show. Mat Ishbia can't just be there all the time. It's the incredible team that you have around you.
Yeah, it's all about team, just like everyone's business, right? You know, for Shred, you have to have great people around you, making sure we're delivering their content, the video work, all the things. Like everyone's got to do things. Every mortgage broker needs great people. UWM is not Mat Ishbia. I got so many great people. I get too much credit. The credit should go to my people. They're the ones working hard, doing things, but it's a culture. It's a team atmosphere. If the welcome associate picking up the phone doesn't have a good attitude and the underwriter does a great job, you're going to remember that the person was kind of short with you at the beginning. Like I get that. We have to do, everyone's got to play their role. The CEO's got to be the best CEO. The underwriter's got to be the best underwriter, salesperson. Like everyone's got to play their role. And I'm just one of the many people here, 9,300 people trying to make sure we're better every day.
And that's just it, is we all have our part. We can't do it by ourselves. As a broker community, like you said, you have our processors, we have our underwriters, we have our team put in place, just like UWM does. And I think as an industry, we all have to do our part as well. A question just came in as well. And I love, this is why we do this live, because I love the interaction. People love to get to know Mat Ishbia. We've seen a lot more posts interacting with your kids. You brought your son to work just the other week. How do you have that work-life balance? That's the question here, Matt, is how do you balance that? Because you and I, we're kind of like, we can't compare us completely to Gary Vaynerchuk, but you and I love the grind. You and I love the hustle. I mean, that's what Shred, show up, hustle, repeat every day. That's what really drives us. How do you find that balance between working and then chilling with your kids and hanging out with your kids?
Yeah, well, it just comes down to prioritizing, right? So I'm here grinding every day and I love it. I love what I do every day. I love coming in real early and staying late. But at the same time, I have time with my kids too. And so I had the opportunity to bring my son. He didn't have school that day and my other two did. And so I brought him in, had him sit in a meeting, had him do some work. He could sit on a conference call and spend some time, had lunch with him. And that's the best stuff. You know, the reality is if you want to be successful in anything, you have to sacrifice. And so, you know, I've had to sacrifice different things. I don't watch TV. I'm divorced. I don't have a wife. I have kids and work. And now I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying, but like, there's nothing that comes ahead of my kids. Nothing. And then the next thing is work and family. Like, how do I do that stuff? But I don't get to watch, you know, every TV show. I don't know what Game of Thrones is. I don't get to watch all these different things. Like doesn't mean I'm not sure I'm doing it right. I'm just telling you that's how you do it. So you can be very engaged with your kids, very engaged in your business, very engaged in your marriage. I'm sure people can do all three of them. But you can't be, you know, the best partier and the best everything. Like you got to sacrifice. If you want to be the best, you got to make sacrifices, but I won't sacrifice. I coach all my kids' sports. I coach football, baseball, and basketball for them. 3 different teams. I mean, I'm involved with it all.
I love that you talk about sacrifice, because Matt, that's what it comes down to. So many of us are like, I don't have enough time in the day, but how many hours are you sitting there binge watching Netflix? And you could take an hour, 2 hours and go put it into your kids or go put it into whatever your craft is. And that's why I love everything you preach, you live. You're not one of those CEOs. You're not one of those executives who's saying, oh, go do this. And then you're doing something completely different. You live it, you breathe it. This is you. This is what continues to drive you every single day, day in and day out. And that's why your kids, I like I said, watching these posts with your kids, it's so cool to see you interact with them. And then look what you've done with UWM. There's undeniably no questions asked. What you have done in the time that you have is absolutely brilliant. It's truly inspirational. Every time that I see you talk, I see you lead. You're just an absolute incredible leader. So Matt, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate you sharing some words of wisdom. And everybody, you got to make sure you are ready for National Mortgage Broker Day on July 18th. And you guys are announcing the winners of your contest on July 5th in about a week, correct?
Yeah, so that, and then the day is July 18th, it's actually a weekend. So the day that I'm actually ringing the bell with people is Wednesday, July 21st. So it's going to be a really cool event. So I'm excited to be in New York with probably 70 of our clients, and then 12 to 14 I'll pick up, or I think it's actually 12 can come up on stage with me. But it's awesome, and it's going to be telling the mortgage. It's good for all of us. Not even if you're not there with me, we're telling the mortgage. I'm going to be on CNBC. I'm going to try to be on Fox. I'm going to be talking about mortgage brokers are best. Talk to a local mortgage broker.
I love it. Matt, you continue to advocate for the channel, continue to advocate for us as mortgage brokers. So we appreciate you, brother. And it's always great to sit down and hang out with you. So Mat Ishbia, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to learn more about UWM. If you haven't already, you're living under a rock in this industry. But Matt, thanks so much for joining us, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we appreciate you. We love you. And now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. We'll see you. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you again so much for joining us for today's show. If you like the content, make sure you hit that like button below. And if you already haven't subscribed to our channel, click right over here and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see our latest video, click over here. And again, if you want to see the best of daily content within the mortgage and real estate industries, you have to subscribe now. We look forward to having you shred with us every single day.